The first question, to what extent does one have the ability to design their own life? To what extent? Now, we have to understand that we have the time horizon that we have is in three phases: the past, the present, and the future. The past is what already have happened, and in your previous, you have a previous lives, in the previous incarnations. So in your previous lives, I don't know how many, it could be immeasurable. You have done a lot, you have spoken a lot, you have thought a lot. That means you have created karmic energy in your previous lives. And this karmic energy that you created in all your previous lives have an effect on what your life will be in this life. So in other words, I just give you an example. If in your previous life or immediately, the previous 3 or 4 lives, you have been a philanthropist. You donated all the money out to help all the poor people. You even donated every penny in your millions of accounts to help people. Then in this life, because of this cause, you have the effect of being very rich. You are a multi-billionaire. Or in your previous life, you have killed a lot of animals, and because of that cause, in this life you are short-lived, you are always feel sick, and then you've gone through a lot of hardships in the suffering of the body. So all these is affecting you. All the previous karmic energy that you created will affect you in this life. And if you do not get out from samsara, reincarnation, it will affect you in your future life. So he asked me, to what extent does one have the ability to design their own life? What you already created in the past, you can't change. You cannot change your past karmic energy, can you? How can you change yesterday's work? It's been done. But you can learn from yesterday's mistakes. You can get encouragement from yesterday's good deeds. You learn, you experience, you can learn from your past, but you cannot change the past. You can only learn with a view to change for the better in your future life. So in what extent does one have the ability to design their own life? You live at the present moment. Now you can design in whatever way you want. You are the master of your own self, of yourself now, here and now. You can be more benevolent, you can be more kind, you can be more compassionate, more helpful, you can contribute a lot to the society, you can contribute a lot to the family, you are a responsible father, you're a responsible mom, you're a responsible son and daughter, you're responsible to your employer, you can do all the good deeds. You can change it now. To what extent? You can do it now within your scope of ability, within the present moment. Have you started doing that? Or you still have created negative, bad karma in this life? Namely, killing, lying, sexual misconduct, drinking, intoxication. Is that the extent that you have been building? If the extent of your desires is in bad deeds, you are designing a life of hell. Not only for others, for yourself. So you are your own master now. Are you willing to change it for the better? Do you want to design a better life for tomorrow? You want to design a better life for tomorrow? You are your master at the present moment. You cannot change the past, but you can change your future. The future is in your hands. The present is certainly in your hand. Can you start tomorrow? The extent of the desire starts from tomorrow. The extent of your design, the ability to design, starts from now. Are you willing to do it? Are you enthusiastic about it, doing it? Or you're just being sluggish in doing it, or you don't care? You just live from day 1 to day 2 without any encouragement, without any positive attitude, without any attitude to change, without any attitude to design. You are the designer. To the extent that you can do it now, make it happen now, in your hands. You can change the future. You can do better now. Next question. Why do heavenly and hell beings belong to worldly realm? As I already have mentioned to you, there are heavens in the desire realm, and there are also heavens in the world without desire. That is Rupa Dhatu. If you are talking about just of the Kama Dhatu, the world of desire, within this location, and you say, why do heavenly and hell beings belong to worldly realm? Actually, I don't really grasp what you mean by this. Heavenly and hell beings, the world, of course, the world, worldly realm is this world of desire. And as a matter of fact, the way we look at it, hell is not just in another underworld. Hell is in here now. In the war, it was hell. In the Second World War, more than 10 million people were killed. In certain parts of Africa, it happened a few years ago, within 3 months, 800,000 people were killed in the genocide. Do you consider that hell? A lot of hell is going on right on earth. How do they abuse child labor? How do they traffic humans? What kind of deeds that a lot of traffickers do? We can see hell in this world, not in another world. Of course, in that another world is hell. We can also see heaven in this world. There are a lot of people who are philanthropists, who care, who are compassionate, who are conscientious politicians, who help out a lot of people. We see a lot of great heroes in the medical field, in Canada, in America, in Europe, and everywhere. They're heroes. There are heavens in this world, and there are at the same time hell in this world. Well, you ask me, why do heavenly and hell beings belong to worldly realm? Hell and heavens are in front of us if you analyze them. In some situations, it's hell for some people. People who are in jail, who are innocent and who are locked in jail, it's hell for them. In the modern century, there were still slaves. I shouldn't be too conspicuous. I shouldn't be too outspoken in saying this. You know they're hell, and you know they're heavens right here. You don't have to look for it down in the underworld. Any counter arguments of this question? They're heavens too. And if we come to think of it, hell and heaven is a thought also. When you're enjoying a musical, you are in heaven. When you suffer from depression, you are in hell. Heaven and hell is in your thought too, in an instant of thought. When you are being bullied, you are in hell. You are in samsara. When you know that you could be liberated from suffering, you have a feeling of heaven. Very immediately after meditation, if you are thoughtless, if you are in peace, then you have that peacefulness of heaven. It's in your thought. And that thought can extend to actual materialistic heaven or hell. Okay, next question. If there is no sex desire, there is no people in this world, and there is no chance to get enlightenment. Well, it's logical. It's logical, right? So let's do an example. If we have 3 kinds of prisons, the lowest kind of prison is prison of the dungeon, where you have starvation, where you're living in a dungeon that is wet, in a dungeon that have torturing. And that is the second level, more comfortable. You have food, you have no torturing, but you are still in prison. And then on the third level, you have the luxury prison, where you can enjoy the TV, a soft bed, where you have a cafeteria for you to go at lunchtime. And then there is a guy who will go in to preach and you say, get out from the dungeon, it's no good for you, you're suffering. And the prisoners there said, no, if I get out, then there are no people in here, I worry about that. You'll never get out because you want to stay in there. And you say, I want to stay in there because by staying in here, I have hope to get out. But you never learn to get out. You're opinionated in saying that you want to stay in there. Why do you care about enlightenment when you are out from prison, when you are out from that world where you suffer, is already a little bit enlightenment, you realize already. Enlightenment is not just one sudden flash of enlightenment. It's a gradual enlightenment. Enlightenment is to climb from the dungeon to the next cell, to a more comfortable cell until you get to heaven. So don't worry about there's no people living in this world and there's no chance to get enlightenment. Because if no people living in this world, that means all these people already in a higher level of enlightenment. They're already above you. Congratulations. Because you are the only guy that stays. Because you worry. You worry too much. You worry that there will be no guy in this prison, so you want to stay. You want to be a volunteer who want to stay there all the time. And all these guys upstairs smiling at you, hey guy, suffer your lot. And we're in there already. Because the world with desire also have heavens. Heaven is not in the world, because those heavenly beings, they still have desire. They still have that sexual desire. They're in heaven. They're much better than us, but they're in heaven. But they still have that sexual desire. And the way they what do you call that, materialize that sexual desire is not in the same way as humans do. In the human realm, the sexual desire is fulfilled in the matter of sexual intercourse, of a contact. But in the higher level, it's in the exchange of a smile, in the exchange of an eyesight, in exchange of a shaking hand, in the exchange of a hugging. So there's all different levels of sexual desire fulfillment. The lowest level is by contact. So the higher level, by hugging, by touching hands, by exchanging a smile, an eyesight. You understand? The contact is the lowest level. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes?
I work in mental health and addictions.
You work in where?
I work in mental health and addictions.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this can be taught to those with schizophrenia or such.
I can't really hear that.
Saying,
Huh?
he's wondering whether or not your teachings, the Buddhist teachings, could apply to people with schizophrenia.
Oh, schizophrenia. Of course, it applies to schizophrenia, yes. It would be helpful to people with schizophrenia, because people with schizophrenia, sometimes they don't understand, why do I have that? And if you explain it to them that that doesn't happen only of this life, in a previous life too. And have you read that book, Many Lives, Many Masters, by Brian Weiss? B-R-I-A-N, Brian Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. And he is a medical doctor who is also a hypnotist. He have undergone a test, and he actually clinically treated more than 500 patients, and he hypnotized them to get back a regression, to get back to a previous life. And some of these patients have problems like headache, schizophrenia, or many mental and physical sickness. And after he helped them to identify the previous life, they immediately realized that it's from previous life, and they got healed immediately. Read that book, Many Lives, Many Masters, by Brian Weiss. Has a very good detailed explanation of what you're talking about. Oh, okay. Any question? All right, last question. I can't understand this question well. Tulpas, T-U-L-P-A-S, tulpas, number one, are they relevant to dreams? Now, I see your questions. How do dreams get into your mind? Why do you dream? Basically, there are two reasons why you dream. The first reason is because of the present life, when your eyes, your ears, your nose, when all your senses interact with the outside world. When they interact, your sixth consciousness. Now, if you understand sense organs, if we all understand sense organs, they're like the front door salesman. They're interacting with outside, the ears, the nose, the eyes, and the tongue. And then there is a manager, the sixth consciousness. The five senses are the front end, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the tongue, the taste, and the body of touch. And all these are five salesmen. And there is this sixth consciousness who is the manager. And this manager controls all these. When the eyes see something, your eyes only reflect that image, but your eyes themselves do not have the ability to recollect and to memorize. That manager would pick up from the archive files and say, this is what you see, this is your past memory. The manager controls all the previous files, the past files. They're only concerned about the present. So all these would be reflected in the sixth consciousness. So whatever you experience in a lifetime will be all reflected in your sixth consciousness, and your sixth consciousness, which is the mano consciousness, we call it, will store all this information in the file. And at night, all these front salesmen are gone home. They don't work anymore. But the manager is still working because he worked late. He had all these files to do. So at night, when you are sleeping, all these things reflect back to you what happened in the daytime. As a mixture of stuff that you may not even realize. That is what your present life, your daily affairs reflect in your dream. That's the first possibility. The second possibility is that your manager has all these historical files which relate to previous lives too. And sometimes in your dream, you could touch those archive files that belong to many lives before. You could have gone to places that you didn't go to this life, but you have gone to your previous life. Then you have gone to a location that, or maybe in Thailand, in my dream, I walk in a forest in Thailand, but you've never been to Thailand, for example. Why did I dream about Thailand? Is it because that's where Buddha is and Buddha wanted to give me a lesson? But no, that's in your previous life. And sometimes in your previous life, you could have been a monk or a nun. Then that happened to you, that you'll be walking in the forest meditating. So you have that dream of studying the Buddhist teaching and have the experience of being a nun. You understand? So it's in your previous life that you have all this information that reflected on to your present life, and you may have the present life that is like a camera, a movie in this life. Yeah, you have a lot of doors opening. And sometimes you know that you could have gone to places in this life that I have been here before, but actually I haven't been here before. But I seem to know this place so well. Maybe in your previous life you already have toured that place. You understand? Yeah. Yes? Which is better? I think a better sleep is with no dream. Yeah. Yeah. Even if you have dream, a better sleep will be you have just one or two dreams. And dreams that make you happy. Dreams that make you sad are not the dreams that you want. Because in your previous life, you have father and mother who died, you have family members who die, and you suffer from the grief of your dying members. And sometimes in this dream, you always show up your grief and you feel unhappy about family members from dying. You understand? But if you know that, you know that. How many lives have you been grieving over the loss of your family members? This is just one of the many lives that you have. So don't attach to them. Yes? Some of your ancestors, some of your friends who passed away and they want to get in your dream is because you are linked to them in certain frequency of your mind. And they want to tell you that they are good. So if they are in heaven, for example, they would dress nicely. They would smile and they were so beautiful and they were so happy. They just want to tell you that you're okay. And for some relative members, they would dress like a shabby clothes and they have a sad face and they want you to help them. Probably they were not in good realms and they wanted you to help them. You understand? So hopefully you always have dreams that your family members are happy.